Thank you for watching my video. Today we are going to replace the automatic transmission fluid in a Corvette C6 automatic 6-speed transmission. First thing we're going to do is remove this drain plug. This drain plug is significant in the Corvette transmission. You're going to drain out about 3 quarts of fluid right now. This drain plug also acts as your fill level indicator when you've put the new fluid in. So as this is draining, let me explain to you how you check your transmission fluid once you've refilled it, because I did not show this in the video. You will fill your transmission back up with 6 quarts of ATF. I went about 6.5 quarts on mine. I probably drained right at 6 quarts out. So I put 6.5 quarts back into my transmission, and then GM says you start your car and let it idle for 1 minute. Your car has to be on a level surface as it's idling. After a minute, that ATF gets circulated in the transmission. So you need to roll back up underneath the car. I know, with your car running, I didn't like this part either. And you're going to pull this drain plug out. What happens is any excess fluid that's in your transmission will drain out of this plug, and when it stops draining, put the plug back in, turn your car off, and you have the proper level of automatic transmission fluid in your transmission. I apologize for not taking the video of it, of me checking my automatic transmission fluid level. But I had a big enough problem being underneath my car while it was running. Usually I work alone, so if the car would have fallen on me, there would be nobody to view it. But I guess there would have been a video had that happened, and that would have been a pretty cool YouTube video. We've got a lot of hits. C6 Corvette falls on clown who's changing automatic transmission fluid. Alright, so what you see me doing now is I'm loosening the 10mm bolts which hold the fluid pan onto the bottom of the transmission. I'm not taking the bolts out, I'm just loosening them about half a turn to a full turn, enough to loosen that bolt but not allow the pan to fall off the transmission. So now I'm going to put my drain plug back into the pan. This will just help keep the 3 quarts of fluid that are sitting in the bottom of that pan from dumping out once I drop the pan off the car. I'm going to have enough fluid going everywhere once this pan comes off the transmission. So here I have a 18mm socket, and I am going to remove the nuts that hold the transmission and differential assembly to the cross member of the car. So this is these four nuts is pretty much all that holds your transmission and your differential to the back of the car. And the four of these need to come off so you can lift the transmission up high enough to remove the 4 or 5 bolts which are just above that cross member. This quite possibly may be the most dangerous part of the job, is when you're lifting the differential up. Okay, I'm finally removing the last one. And once I get this last one off and out of here, then it'll be time to jack up the differential. Now I have a pretty good floor jack, and what I've done is taken a floor jack with a short piece of 2x8, and that 2x8 will slide almost perfectly between the leaf spring on the back of the car and that rear cross member. And then when I start jacking it up, we only need to jack the differential and transmission up high enough to where those bolts are flush with the cross member. You don't need to go any higher than that. And you really don't want to risk pushing the car up too high and getting the car off of your jack stands. You want the full weight of the car really to be resting on the jack stands, not on this 2x8 that's holding the transmission up. Another good tip is if your floor jack leaks or it goes down by itself, don't use that floor jack. Get something else. If you could get like a manual scissor jack, maybe a jack that's not hydraulic, it would be very bad on you if your jack fell and your fingers were up in there trying to get the bolts out. I don't know about you, but I need all my fingers. Always think about your safety first. Okay, as you see, I'm now taking out all of those 10mm bolts. I want to leave 2 in. I'm going to leave 2 in the middle of the pan on the left and the right side. But I'm going to take all the rest of them out. Those 2 will hold the pan on the transmission so I can drop the pan down kind of like evenly in a level motion. When I drop the pan, you'll understand why when you see how much ATF fluid is going to be pouring on my garage floor and everywhere around the bottom of the car except the huge pan that I have on the floor. So I've just taken out the last bolt, and I was hoping that the pan would just drop easily, freely from the bottom of the car. It didn't, unfortunately for me. So I'm going to put 2 screws back in to hold the pan, and I'm going to hit it with my hand, and it should just break the pan away from that rubber gasket that's holding it on the transmission. You could probably use a rubber mallet to break this free. Don't go beating on your transmission pan with a steel hammer or a brass hammer. You just want to tap it lightly. So now you'll see how much fluid is going to go everywhere. It's pouring off the filter right now. There's 3 quarts in the pan that I have to get into my catch pan that's underneath the car. I just removed the old ATF filter. And you can see from the pink color that's on the transmission, my fluid is still in decent condition. The last time I did this fluid change was at 65,000 miles. This is my 100,000 mile service. So here's the installation of the new AC Delco automatic transmission filter. I do use OEM parts on my car. My local dealership is Jackie Jones Chevrolet in Murphy, North Carolina, and they treat me really well. So even if they do charge me a little bit more, I'm still going to go to them. They're good people. If you take care of your dealership, they'll take care of you. If ever I need anything, my local dealership gets me in quickly. They get me out fast, and that's kind of what we expect out of a good dealership. So there is a little rubber gasket that this filter fits up into. You may or may not have to change yours. 100,000 miles, my little rubber filter is still rubbery and it will seal. So I decided not to pull it out. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get it out, and it's quite difficult to get the new one back in if you don't have the proper tools to seat that seal. So if you don't need to replace your seal up in there, I would say don't bother doing it. I'll probably do mine at 200,000 miles next year. So while your pan's off the car, take some paper towels and wipe it clean. See how clean mine is? That's a magnet in the bottom of the pan. You want to remove that magnet and wipe it clean and get all the metal flakes off of it. And then we're going to send our pan back up onto the transmission. As you see, it doesn't fit properly. I don't have the ATF filter in all the way. So I'll just set my pan down and push that filter all the way home. So you'll see it pop into place. Pop, there it goes. So that filter's perfectly seated now, and my pan will slide right on and mesh up with the gasket. I also did not remove the old ATF gasket. Your new automatic transmission fluid filter will probably come with a replacement gasket. If your gasket on the pan is still pliable, it still feels like rubber, just leave it. It's good. This is the second time this car's had an ATF fluid change, and I reused the gasket the last time. Now I have two new gaskets sitting on the shelf. It's just easier to change out your fluid if you're not messing around with putting that gasket back on. That gasket can be pretty difficult to deal with. So I'm working my way around the pan. I'm putting all the 10mm bolts back in. I'm going to get all of the easy ones in first. That should line the pan up perfectly, so it won't be a hassle for me to put the ones that are in the very rear above that cross member in. So now we're at the point where we can drop the transmission back down into the cross member. You see, I just lowered my jack. The bolts came through the holes, and now I'm going to put those 18mm nuts back onto the bolts. All right, now we're going to add some fluid. On the right side of the transmission, if you reach your arm up next to it, you'll feel a little rubber plug. This little rubber plug, you just pull up the cap, and then you can wiggle the rubber plug out of the hole. I have a little pump that screws onto the top of a quart bottle with a hose on it, and that's what I use to pump the fluid back in. Again, I will pump 6.5 quarts into my transmission, and then I'll let the excess drain off when I check the level. That way I don't have to add any more later. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.